My name is Emily Carter. For 11 years, I worked to build a career from nothing. No rich parents. No powerful connections. No family business waiting for me. Just long nights, cheap coffee, and a laptop that crashed more times than I could count. I started as a junior marketing assistant. 11 years later, I was the creative director of a successful advertising agency in Chicago. And I was proud of one thing above everything else. My biggest client. A billion-dollar American skincare company called Betrayal. I had spent 3 years building their brand. Their sales had doubled. Their online audience had exploded. And their CEO, Richard Hayes, trusted me completely. Then my younger sister came back into my life. Jessica. We hadn't been close for years. But when she called me crying, I forgot everything. Emily, I need your help. What happened? I lost my job. She told me she had been fired from another agency. She had nowhere to go. So I offered her a position at mine. That was my biggest mistake. Jessica started as my assistant. At first, she was grateful. She brought me coffee, stayed late, complimented my presentations. She constantly told me, I don't know how you became this successful. I smiled. Hard work. She laughed. You're lucky. I didn't realize then. She wasn't complimenting me. She was studying me. 6 months later, Betrayal announced a massive new campaign. The contract was worth $18 million. It would determine the company's next 5 years. I spent 4 months developing the campaign. Hundreds of hours. Dozens of presentations. I created the concept personally. The campaign was called Beauty Without Permission. It focused on women who had been told they weren't good enough. Women who had failed. Women who had started over. Women who refused to let anyone define their worth. Richard loved it. He told me, Emily, this could become the biggest campaign we've ever launched. I was thrilled. The night before the final presentation, Jessica came into my office. You look exhausted. I am. She smiled. Want me to help? Sure. I handed her the presentation folder. Just check the numbers. She nodded. No problem. I trusted her. I shouldn't have. The next morning, I walked into Betrayal's headquarters. Richard wasn't there. Neither were the executives. Instead, a security guard stopped me. Emily Carter. Yes. You're not authorized to enter. I laughed. That's impossible. He showed me his tablet. My access had been revoked. I called Richard. Straight to voicemail. Then my boss called. Emily, come to my office. I rushed back. The moment I entered, my boss looked furious. You stole company property. What? Your Betrayal campaign. I stared at him. I created that campaign. He pushed a printed document across the desk. My heart stopped. The campaign had been submitted under another person's name. Jessica Carter. I couldn't speak. My own sister had stolen my work. Then my boss said something even worse. Betrayal has terminated your contract. What? They believe Jessica created the campaign. No. I stood up. That's impossible. My boss looked at me. She has the files. She has the presentation. She has the emails. She has everything. I suddenly remembered the folder I had given her. My passwords. My drafts. My research. Everything. I had handed her my entire career. I called Jessica. She answered immediately. Emily. What did you do? Silence. Then she laughed softly. I did what you taught me. What? Take an opportunity when you see one. You stole my campaign. No. You stole my life. She became cold. You were always the talented sister. You had the perfect career. The perfect reputation. Everyone admired you. Then she whispered. I was tired of standing behind you. I couldn't believe it. Jessica. She interrupted me. Everell wants me now. My stomach dropped. You can't do this. She laughed. I already did. That evening, my boss fired me. My professional accounts were frozen. My company email was disabled. My name disappeared from the Everell campaign. Within 24 hours, my 11-year career was gone. And Jessica, she became the face of the $18 million campaign. She even appeared in an industry magazine. The headline read, Jessica Carter, the young creative genius behind Everell's biggest campaign. I stared at the photograph. She was smiling, wearing my idea, using my words, standing beside my work. And beneath the article, Richard Hayes had written, Jessica has an extraordinary understanding of modern women. I laughed bitterly. He had no idea. For 3 weeks, I couldn't find work. Every agency I contacted had heard the same story. Emily Carter had stolen company materials. Emily Carter had violated confidentiality. Emily Carter had lost Everell. My reputation was destroyed. Then one rainy evening, someone knocked on my apartment door. I opened it. Richard Hayes was standing there. The CEO of Everell. The man who had once trusted me. He looked exhausted. Emily. I didn't invite him inside. What do you want? He looked at me. I owe you an apology. I crossed my arms. For what? He handed me a folder. I discovered something. I opened it. Inside was a forensic report. The original campaign files. Creation dates. Metadata. Draft history. Every version. And one shocking fact. The campaign had been created on my laptop. 3 months before Jessica even joined the company. I looked at Richard. What are you saying? He answered. Your sister didn't just steal your campaign. She altered the evidence to make it look like she created it. My hands trembled. Then Richard said. And that's not the worst part. What is? He opened another page. It showed a secret transfer. $2.7 million. The money had been paid to Jessica. By someone inside Everell. I looked at him. Who? Richard's expression became serious. Your own boss. I couldn't breathe. My sister hadn't acted alone. Someone had helped destroy me. And now, I finally had the proof. I closed the folder. For the first time in 3 weeks. I smiled. Then let's take everything back. I stared at the bank statement. $2,700,000. Paid to Jessica. And the sender was my own boss. I looked at Richard. Why would my boss pay my sister? Richard shook his head. That's what we're trying to find out. Who else knows? Nobody. Does Jessica know you're investigating? I don't think so. I closed the folder. Good. Richard looked at me. What are you thinking? I smiled. Let her believe she won. The next morning, I received a message from Jessica. How does it feel watching me succeed? I stared at the screen. Then another message appeared. You should be proud. Your little sister finally made it. I didn't respond. She called. I answered. What? She laughed. You sound angry. You stole my work. No. I know what you did. She became silent. Then. You don't have proof. I smiled. Are you sure? She hung up. That was the first mistake she made. She had just admitted she knew exactly what she had done. Richard and I spent the next 2 weeks investigating. We discovered something strange. The $2.7 million wasn't a single payment. It had been divided into 12 transfers. Different companies. Different bank accounts. All eventually ending up under Jessica's control. But there was something even more suspicious. The transfers began 2 weeks before my campaign was stolen. I looked at Richard. This was planned. He nodded. Someone wanted you removed before the campaign launched. Why? Because they wanted Jessica in your position. Who? Richard showed me a list. 3 executives, 1 investor, and my boss, Michael Carter. No relation to me, but he had been running my agency for 8 years. Then we discovered his connection to Jessica. They had been meeting privately. Restaurants, hotels, private offices. We found 23 meetings. The earliest one was almost a year before Jessica joined my company. My stomach turned. She had planned this long before she asked me for a job. But there was another mystery. Why did Michael want me gone? Richard found the answer. A private investment company was preparing to buy my agency, and the person behind the acquisition was Michael's brother. If my reputation collapsed, the agency would lose its biggest client. Its value would fall. Then Michael's brother could buy it cheaply. Jessica would become the new creative director, and Michael would receive a percentage of the acquisition. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a corporate takeover disguised as a family betrayal. I wanted to expose them immediately. Richard stopped me. Not yet. Why? We need the entire chain. What if they destroy the evidence? That's why we're going to make them create more. I looked at him. How? He smiled. Give Jessica exactly what she wants. 3 days later, Betrayal announced something publicly. Jessica would become the creative director of the company's upcoming international campaign. The contract. $32 million. The business media exploded. Jessica was suddenly everywhere. Magazine covers, podcasts, interviews, social media. She was being called the next big name in American advertising. I watched one of her interviews. The host asked, "What inspires your creativity?" Jessica smiled, then repeated one of my old answers, almost word for word. I laughed. She wasn't even creative enough to invent a lie. That evening, Jessica came to my apartment. I was surprised. "What do you want?" She looked nervous. "I need something." I almost laughed. "You came to me." She ignored the comment. "I need the original research files." "What files?" "The research behind Beauty Without Permission." "You already have the campaign." "Not everything." I stared at her. "Why would I help you?" She lowered her voice. "Because if you don't, I'll lose everything." I smiled. "That's not my problem." She stepped closer. "Emily, please." "No. You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." She suddenly became angry. "You always thought you were better than me." I stared at her. "You destroyed my career. You stole my work. You lied to everyone. And now you're asking me for help." She started crying. "I made a mistake." I shook my head. "No. You made a plan." She looked terrified. I continued. "And now your plan is failing." Jessica left. But she forgot something. Her phone. I picked it up. The screen was unlocked. There were dozens of messages. I opened the conversation with Michael. The most recent message said, "Michael, Emily still has the original files. Get them before Friday." Jessica had replied, "I'll handle it." Then Michael sent another message. "After the acquisition, you're getting 20%. My hands went cold. I photographed the entire conversation. Then I sent it to Richard. We finally had them. But I wasn't finished. I wanted Jessica to confess everything herself. So I sent her one message. "I'll give you the original files." She immediately replied, "Really?" I answered, "Tomorrow, 8 p.m. My office." She agreed. What she didn't know was that the office wasn't empty. Richard would be there. My lawyer would be there. A forensic specialist would be there. And hidden cameras would record everything. The next evening, Jessica walked into my old office. The same office she had stolen from me. She smiled. "You actually came." I placed a folder on the table. "Everything is here." She grabbed it. Then I asked, Before I give it to you. Yes. Tell me why. She looked confused. Why what? Why did you steal my campaign? She laughed nervously. Emily. Tell me the truth. Silence. Then she said. Because Michael promised me your position. My heart raced. Who else? Michael. Who else? She hesitated. Then whispered. His brother. And the money. Her face changed. What money? I pushed the bank records toward her. $2.70. Million. She stared at the paper. I leaned forward. You can lie to me. But you can't lie to the bank. She started crying. Then, she said something that changed everything. Michael wasn't the one who planned it. I froze. Who did? Jessica looked toward the hidden camera. She didn't know it was there. Then she whispered. Your mother. I couldn't breathe. My mother died 2 years ago. Jessica nodded. I know. Then how? She opened her phone. Because she contacted me before she died. I stared at her. She told me to destroy your career. My blood ran cold. My mother. Why would she want her own daughter destroyed? Then Jessica said. Your mother knew something about you that you've never been told. For several seconds. I couldn't speak. My mother told you to destroy me. Jessica nodded. Yes. I stared at her. Why? I don't know everything. Then tell me what you know. She looked terrified. Your mother said you couldn't be allowed to control the company. What company? Jessica swallowed. The Carter family company. I laughed bitterly. My family doesn't own a company. Jessica looked at me. That's what your mother wanted you to believe. I remembered my childhood. My mother had always been secretive about money. We lived comfortably, but never extravagantly. She never talked about business. Never discussed investments. Never mentioned family wealth. I had assumed we were ordinary. Jessica continued. Your mother told me there was a trust. A trust? Yes. How much? Jessica hesitated. More than $60 million. I felt dizzy. What does that have to do with my career? Everything. She explained that my mother had created a private trust years earlier. I was the beneficiary. But there was one condition. I couldn't access it until I became financially independent. My mother believed that if I knew about the money too early, people would treat me differently. She wanted me to build a career without knowing I had a safety net. But there was another problem. My mother's business partner wanted control of the trust. And that partner was Michael. I stared at Jessica. Michael. She nodded. Your mother trusted him. Then they had a disagreement. What disagreement? Jessica lowered her voice. Your mother discovered he was stealing from the trust. I froze. How much? Millions. So why would she tell you to destroy me? Because she was afraid. Of Michael. Jessica shook her head. Of the people behind him. Before I could ask another question, the office door opened. Richard walked in. Jessica jumped. You recorded me. Richard looked at her. Yes. She began crying. I didn't care. I needed answers. Richard, what trust is she talking about? He looked at me. I was hoping we'd never have to tell you this. Tell me. He sighed. Your mother owned a private investment company. What was it called? Carter Legacy Holdings. I stared at him. How much is it worth? Richard answered. Approximately $74 million. My knees nearly gave out. But the biggest shock came next. Richard placed a folder on the table. This is the original trust agreement. I opened it. My mother's signature was on the last page. And beneath it, beneficiary, Emily Carter. I stared at my own name. Then I noticed another name. Trust protector, Michael Carter. My heart dropped. Michael hadn't simply been my boss. He had been appointed by my mother to protect my inheritance. Instead, he had been stealing from it. I looked at Jessica. Why did Mom involve you? Jessica wiped her tears. She wanted someone close to you. To spy on me. To protect you. I laughed. By destroying my career. Jessica shook her head. That wasn't the original plan. What happened? She looked down. Michael threatened me. With what? My family's debt. She explained that Michael had paid off a large debt belonging to her father. In return, Jessica had to help him. She was supposed to steal my campaign and damage my reputation. But Michael had lied to her. He never intended to give her the position. He only wanted her to take the blame. I turned toward Richard. So Michael planned everything. Richard nodded. There's more. He opened another file. Inside were bank statements. Millions of dollars had been moved from Carter Legacy Holdings. Some went to shell companies. Some went overseas. And several payments went directly to Michael's brother. I looked at the dates. The largest transfer occurred just days before my mother died. $8.4 million. I whispered. Why? Richard looked at me. We don't know. Then I noticed something. The transfer had a reference code. Project Echo. I had seen those words before. On an old document in my mother's house. I suddenly remembered something. When I was 17, my mother had told me never to open the locked cabinet in her bedroom. I had forgotten about it. Until now. That night. I went to my mother's old house. The cabinet was still there. I found the key hidden inside an old jewelry box. The lock opened. Inside were dozens of documents. And one photograph. My mother was standing beside a man I didn't recognize. Behind them was a massive building. At the bottom of the photograph, my mother had written, "The reason I couldn't tell Emily." I turned the photograph over. An address was written there. I recognized the location. It was Everell's original headquarters. I called Richard. Why was my mother at Everell? He became silent. Emily. Tell me. Finally he said. Because Everell wasn't just your biggest client. What was it? Your mother's company secretly owned 38% of it. I stared at the phone. My mother had secretly been one of Everell's largest shareholders. And now I understood. Michael wasn't trying to steal my campaign. He was trying to take control of the company. If I lost my reputation, I would lose my position. If I lost my position, Michael could argue that I wasn't capable of managing the trust. Then he could seize control of the shares. The $18 million campaign was only a distraction. The real target was worth hundreds of millions. I returned to the office. Jessica was waiting. She looked broken. I have one more thing. What? She handed me a USB drive. Michael gave this to me. I plugged it in. There was one video. My mother appeared on screen. She looked directly into the camera. Emily, if you're watching this, Michael has already made his move. I stopped breathing. My mother continued. I know he will try to make you believe your family abandoned you. He will try to make you doubt yourself. But remember one thing. She leaned closer to the camera. Never trust anyone who tells you that you aren't capable of running what belongs to you. The screen went black. Then another video automatically opened. This time, it showed Michael. He was speaking to someone. I recognized the other person immediately. My uncle. The man I hadn't seen in 15 years. Michael said. Once Emily is removed, the trust becomes ours. My uncle replied. And what about her mother? Michael looked toward the camera. She won't be a problem anymore. I froze. The recording ended. My mother hadn't died naturally. Someone had planned her death. And now, I had the evidence. But there was one problem. The video was dated 2 days before my mother's death. I looked at Jessica. Then at Richard. We're not exposing Michael yet. Richard frowned. Why? I closed the laptop. Because I want him to think his plan worked. And for the first time, I wasn't the woman whose career had been destroyed. I was the woman holding the evidence that could destroy them all. I spent the next week doing something that felt almost impossible. I did nothing. No accusations. No angry phone calls. No social media posts. No interviews. I let Jessica continue pretending she had one. I let Michael believe the evidence was still hidden. And I let my uncle believe I had no idea he was involved. But behind the scenes, I was building a case that would destroy all of them. Richard arranged a private meeting with Everell's board. I walked into the room carrying one folder. The chairman looked at me. "Emily, you're no longer employed by the agency." "I know." "Then why are you here?" I placed the folder on the table. "Because your company is being stolen." The room went silent. I explained everything. The $2.7 million. The fake campaign ownership. The shell companies. The hidden trust. The stolen shares. And finally, my mother's recording. When the video finished playing, nobody spoke. The chairman looked at Richard. "Is this authentic?" Richard nodded. "We verified every file." The chairman turned toward me. "What do you want?" I answered. My name cleared. My campaign returned. And an independent investigation into every person involved. He nodded. "You'll have it." But I wanted something else. I wanted Michael to confess. So I called him. He answered immediately. "Emily." "Michael." There was a long silence. Then he said, "I'm sorry about everything." I almost laughed. "Are you?" "I made mistakes." "No," I replied calmly. "You made plans." He became quiet. Then I said, "I want to meet." "Why?" "Because I have something you want." He asked. "What?" "The original campaign files." I could almost hear him smiling. "Where?" "Tomorrow night." The meeting took place at an empty conference center. But Michael didn't know. The entire room was wired. Federal investigators were listening from another room. Richard was there. My lawyer was there. And Jessica had agreed to cooperate. Michael arrived alone. He sat across from me. "You look different." I smiled. "Maybe I finally know who I am." He laughed. "You've always been emotional. And you've always underestimated me." He leaned forward. "Give me the files." "First, answer one question." "What?" "Did you steal from my mother's trust?" He stared at me, then smiled. "Your mother trusted me." "That wasn't my question." He sighed. "Yes." My heart started pounding. "How much?" "Enough." "How much?" He finally answered. $11.6 million. The investigators were listening. I continued. "Did you pay Jessica?" "Yes." "How much?" 2.7. "Why?" "Because I needed someone close to you." He looked at me. Jessica was useful. I turned toward my sister. She was sitting silently nearby. Michael didn't realize she was there. Then I asked, "Did you plan to destroy my career?" He smiled. "Of course." "And my mother's company?" "Eventually." "Why?" He leaned back. "Because your mother left everything to you." Then he said something I never expected. "She should have left it to me." I stared at him. "Why?" "Because I built half of it." "No. You inherited it." "I earned it." He laughed. "You think you earned anything?" His voice became bitter. "Your mother used me for 20 years. I understood then. Michael wasn't just greedy. He was resentful. He believed my family owed him the company. That resentment had turned into obsession. I asked one final question. "What happened to my mother?" His expression changed. For the first time. He looked afraid. "I wasn't there." "Who was?" He remained silent. "Michael." Nothing. Then Jessica suddenly spoke. Tell her. He looked at my sister. You. Jessica nodded. I'm done protecting you. Michael's face went pale. Jessica continued. Tell Emily what happened. He finally whispered. Your uncle ordered it. My entire body went cold. How? He hired someone. Who? I don't know. Why? Because your mother discovered the $11.6 million theft. I closed my eyes. My mother had discovered the truth. And that's why she died. Michael was arrested. But my uncle was still free. And he knew something was wrong. Within hours, his lawyer contacted me. He wanted a private meeting. I agreed. My uncle arrived at my mother's old house. He looked at me. You've become just like her. Thank you. He smiled. Your mother was stubborn. She was brave. He ignored that. You don't understand what you're doing. I understand everything. No. He stepped closer. You have no idea how many people are involved. Then tell me. He laughed. Do you really think Michael was the mastermind? I froze. What? He shook his head. Michael was a small player. I stared at him. Then who? He smiled. Someone much closer to you. My heart started pounding. Who? He leaned forward. Your father. I froze. My father died when I was 10. My uncle smiled. That's what your mother wanted you to believe. I couldn't breathe. He's alive. Very much alive. Where? My uncle stood up. Ask yourself why your mother never talked about him. Then he walked toward the door. I stopped him. You killed my mother. He turned around. No. Then who did? He smiled. Ask your father. And left. I stood alone in the hallway. My entire life had been built on lies. My mother. My sister. Michael. My uncle. And now. My father. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. A man's voice whispered. Emily. I recognized it immediately. I hadn't heard that voice since I was a child. It was my father. He said. Your mother was trying to protect you from me. The call ended. I stood frozen. Then a message arrived. Come to the old family warehouse tomorrow. Come alone. I looked at the evidence on my desk. For the first time, I wasn't afraid. Because now, I wanted the truth more than I wanted revenge. I arrived at the old family warehouse just before midnight. The building had been abandoned for years. Broken windows. Rusty doors. Dust covering everything. But one light was still on. I stepped inside. Dad! A man appeared from the shadows. Older. Grey hair. But the eyes were exactly the same. It was my father. I hadn't seen him in 22 years. He looked at me. Emily. I couldn't move. You were alive. He nodded. Why did you leave? He looked down. Because your mother asked me to. I laughed bitterly. Everyone keeps blaming Mom. Because she was trying to protect you. From what? He looked directly at me. From the people who wanted your inheritance. My father explained everything. Years ago, my mother discovered that her business partners were secretly moving money out of the company. She confronted them. They threatened her. Then they threatened me. My father tried to fight back. But he was framed for financial crimes. To protect me, my mother made him disappear. She told everyone he had abandoned us. Including me. I stared at him. So you let me hate you? He nodded. Because I thought hatred was safer than knowing the truth. I started crying. You could have told me. I wanted to. Then why didn't you? He pointed toward an old security camera. Because they were always watching. Then he told me the biggest secret. My mother had never intended for me to inherit the company directly. She wanted me to build my own career first. That was why she let me believe we were an ordinary family. But she had quietly transferred 74% of Carter Legacy Holdings into my name. The company was now worth more than $90 million. And Betrayal was one of its biggest assets. Michael had been trying to steal control. My uncle had helped him. Jessica had been manipulated into helping them. But there was one final piece. Who killed Mom? My father closed his eyes. Your uncle ordered it. I know. But he didn't do it himself. Who did? My father looked at me. Michael's brother. I froze. But he's dead. No. My father shook his head. He's alive. Everything finally made sense. The fake campaign. The stolen money. The attempt to destroy my reputation. The $2.7 million. The takeover. It had all been part of one plan. They wanted me discredited before I discovered I owned the company. My career wasn't destroyed because I was unlucky. It was destroyed because I was the owner. The next morning, I called a press conference. Every major business newspaper was there. Every major news channel. I walked onto the stage. Behind me was a screen. I played the evidence. Michael's confession. The bank transfers. The forged campaign documents. My mother's recording. My uncle's involvement. And finally, my mother's original trust agreement. I looked directly into the cameras. I was told I had nothing. I was told my career was over. I was told my sister created my biggest success. I paused. They were wrong. The screen changed. Carter Legacy Holdings, 74% owned by Emily Carter. The room exploded with questions. Reporters stood up. Cameras flashed. And Jessica was sitting in the front row. She began crying. The investigation moved quickly. Michael was charged with fraud, conspiracy, and embezzlement. My uncle was arrested for his involvement in my mother's death. Michael's brother was arrested after investigators discovered he had been living under a false identity. Jessica cooperated fully with investigators. She admitted everything. She returned the money she had received. And she publicly apologized. But I didn't immediately forgive her. Some betrayals are too deep for a simple apology. 3 months later, I returned to the office where my career had been destroyed. The same building. The same elevator. The same conference room. But this time, I wasn't walking in as an employee. I was walking in as the owner. The chairman stood up. Ms. Carter. I smiled. Emily is fine. He laughed. Welcome back. I looked around. Everything felt different. Not because the room had changed. Because I had. I reinstated the Beauty Without Permission campaign. But I changed one thing. The final advertisement showed women who had been betrayed. Women who had been underestimated. Women who had lost everything. And the final words appeared on screen. They thought losing everything would break US. IT taught US who we were. The campaign became one of the biggest advertisements of the year. Sales exploded. Betrayal's stock reached a record high. And the company eventually offered me the position of executive chairwoman. I accepted. 1 year later, Jessica came to my office. She looked completely different. No designer clothes. No cameras. No arrogance. Just my little sister. She placed a letter on my desk. I know you don't owe me forgiveness. I opened it. She had written, I spent my entire life believing your success meant I had failed. I didn't realize your success could have been my inspiration. I'm sorry I tried to destroy the person I should have been proud of. I looked at her. You hurt me. I know. You destroyed 11 years of my life. I know. But you also helped expose them. She began crying. I don't expect anything. I stood up. I don't forgive you yet. She nodded. But. I took a breath. I'm willing to see who you become after this. She hugged me. I didn't hug her back immediately. Then. I did. Because revenge had already given me justice. I didn't need revenge to control the rest of my life. A few weeks later, I visited my mother's grave. My father stood beside me. For the first time, we were together. I placed flowers on her grave. I finally know everything. The wind moved through the trees. I smiled. You were right. My father looked at me. About what? I whispered. They couldn't destroy me. I looked toward the sky. They only showed me how strong I really was. My family thought they had stolen my career. They thought my sister had taken my future. They thought I would disappear quietly. Instead, I became the owner of the company they tried to steal. I cleared my name, exposed the fraud, uncovered my mother's truth, and rebuilt everything they tried to destroy. But the greatest revenge wasn't the money. It wasn't the company. It wasn't watching them get arrested. It was waking up one morning and realizing they no longer had any power over me. I looked at my mother's photograph on my desk and whispered, "You didn't leave me a fortune, Mom. You left me the truth." And that was worth more than $90 million.